Bowman, what would you like to do today?
Well, I want to share my screen because I have a fun thing to show you. So I hope you call it fun. This is a woodturners negative space sculpture. A while ago in one of the clubs, I heard somebody talk about turning something that's not practical. One guy presented, the trimming off of a bowl when you're getting bowl blank ready. And I had a bunch laying around, and then I had turned out of a big crutch piece. I had turned a kind of a platter with an edge on it, but it had a sapwood all around. Well, in a day or two, it started cracking, as you can see over here. I said, okay, I want to save the cherry in the middle, so I sawed it out with the bandsaw. I said, wait a minute, I got the beginnings of a wood sculpture. So I don't know. It was just a fun piece. So,
So,
uh,
where are you going
yeah,
to put that? What are you going to do? How big is it, and what are you going to do with it?
it sits about 18 inches tall. The platter was, I had to do it outboard, so it was over 16 inches from edge to edge before I cut out the heartwood. So it's sitting on my porch right now. Gets a lot of conversation. So yeah.
What's the title of it? Not a wood scrap pile?
Oh no, I like negative space. That term is a little more instructive, I think. But not a scrap wood pile. That's a good one too. I'll make that the subtitle. Hey, I also have uh, another piece to show you all. This is a triangular piece from a Burl chunk, and I turned what I thought was going to be a little bowl, and my daughter, who's an artist in her own right, said, "Dad, you need to put a globe in there." So I went searching around and got myself a 5-inch globe, and now I got art supporting art. How can you describe that? But this was a beautiful piece of burl. I turned it up on its. Uh, I'll show you at the bottom. I set it on its bark, and then can you imagine the fun of trying to turn that between centers? So I bored a hole down to hit solid wood, and then I said it's just going to stay there, and I stained it. So I've been having fun with the burl. I got
So,
the yeah.
how fine did you sand that to, and what's the finish on it?
Uh, Walnut, Mahoney's walnut oil is what's on the finish. On the bottom, I put the way I work with bark is I spray them with shellac very early on, try to give them a little rigidity, rattle can shellac, and then the bottom I stained it with dark walnut because I didn't want it to see the bare wood in here. Here I'll show. I didn't want to
Yeah.
see the bare wood in here. So I stained it with black walnut and I touched it up at the bottom because I figure that's the bottom, you know. But
So the top,
walnut
the,
oil is what I like.
how
So
much sanding do you do on the top? What grit are you going to, and all that?
I'm going to if I get to 180, I'm about done unless I have a lot of scratch marks. I'm not polishing it off real hard. So
But you're seeing really fine detail here in this burl. That looks to me like it's sanded a lot finer than 180.
no, I'm not honestly. I have grit that sometimes I go to 220 or 240, but mostly I stop at 180. Um,
And did,
I don't like to polish up the wood. It's wood. I want to feel the wood, you know. But
so do you?
thanks, John. Yeah.
So is the ball glued in there?
Oh no.
No.
It's just resting in there. It's just literally setting. As it turned out, the diameter was 5 inches exactly, not because I had planned it that way, because that's the way the wood told me. And so I turned it, and then I found a 5-inch globe. It was a blown globe, or cost
Those
me
those,
12
those are
bucks.
fishing. Those are fishing floats. Old time
Are they
Asian fishing
really?
floats. Yeah, net
Well,
floats. They float the nets and float lines. Yeah.
if you wanted to, you could put a light bulb in there because it has an opening in the bottom where they shear them off when they blow them.
Oh, the fishing floats don't. They have a stud on the bottom so they can have a string wrapped around them to attach them to the net. And on
Yeah,
the Pacific coast, they used to wash up all the time. I don't know if they do anymore.
when I went looking for them, I found those, but I knew it wouldn't work because I didn't want the poke thing out the top, and I knew it wasn't going to drill a hole for the bottom. So I got a blown, I forget what they call it, a blown globe,
Okay.
and it just sits in there. By the way, while I got it here, this same Burl has been bringing me lots of fun. I want to show this piece. Do you see the pattern in the bottom of this? Burl's great fun. You see the 3 faces, actually 4 if you look over here. I just wish I understood more about how Burl actually grows. But yeah, and then I don't know if I've shown you this before. I saved a bunch of these Burl. It's all from the same chunk of wood. This is that big 18 by 24 inch one I got from the local wood guy. So
Well, how are you processing that in the first place? Are you chainsawing that up or bandsawing it? What are you doing?
I had to chainsaw the original piece up because, man, it was so heavy. We'd have had to use a tree lift thing to get it on my truck. So I went over it and decided what way would be best to cut it. I use a chainsaw to cut it up. And then sometimes I do on the bandsaw, depends how it is, because it can be they're out of balance by nature. And so it's a challenge to put on the lathe and turn. So these have all been turned from that same piece. And then I even tape them sometimes. And this one I wrapped it in saran wrap because I was worried about this coming apart. It goes all the way up to the top. And then I took a pipe clamp and put it around the neck too when I hollowed it out because I didn't want to lose this piece. It was too lovely. And I managed to survive thanks to Trent Bosch's stabilizer. It still was chattering and rattling a lot. So that's been my fun with the Burls recently. So
Okay, end your share and let's get a gallery view and look for questions and comments. Questions and comments.
So I have 2 actually on the burls and how it grows and how to maximize it cut up. Cindy Droza does a great demo on that subject, and I'm not sure if that's available on her website, but I think she's actually going to do it at the AAW meeting. And then my second point was on your first negative space. So I can't really address the negative space, but there is an article in this month's AAW journal by one of our club members, Chuck Cohn, where he takes those 4 pieces from the corners and he glues them back up to make a resin-filled bowl. So he also took the approach that I shouldn't throw these away and there's something else to do with them. And I think it was actually a pretty novel idea that he's got.
thank you. I think if I ever have an accident in the shop, it'll be stumbling over one of those blanks laying by my bandsaw. I mean, they just accumulate, you know.
Could we go
Okay.
back to the Burl just for a second?
Yeah, who's that? Oh, it's
This
Bob.
is
Hi.
Bob. Yeah. When you were working with Burl, do you need to use CA glue a good bit? Is it like the surface? Does it? I mean, it looks so bizarre. It's the inside's probably firm, but would the outside be anything like? Does it crumble or is it soft? What is it like?
It's quite crumbly. Do you like that word? It's quite crumbly.
I don't know if I like it. I thought used it.
The word is crumbly. You have to be a little careful. The bark will chip off pretty easy. I will admit to gluing 1 or 2 pieces back with CA glue but I try to wrap them, you know, so that they won't come off. But you never know, and when you start hollowing out, you don't know how deep those crevices go, and suddenly you got this big void, and man, it's just even tape around sometimes in the hole. I've had a big piece fly off. Fortunately, it was big enough. I just stuck it back on with CA, and it usually fits pretty good. So it can be hidden rather well.
Thank you.
Well, one thing about burls with cracks in them and so forth, they're kind of created naturally. And if they come apart, that's okay. You don't really need to glue them back in all cases.
sometimes I let that be part of the design. I just, if a piece comes off, I look at it and I go, okay, that's all right, missing. You're right. You're absolutely right, Ron. It's,
I saw the Cindy Drozda Burl presentation when she did it down in Pittsburgh at the AAW there, and I was just amazed by it. She really did a nice job with presentation of the burl and what the form is on the inside of the burl, and if you cut it one way or another. So if you get a chance to see that, I really highly recommend it also.
well, I trust Cindy greatly, so I will go look for her. Hopefully I can find that because, yeah, I got one that I need to not fool with too much. I need to be able to do it. So.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.